Nick from Additional Crew here. Today I bring you, well, on her bachelorette party getaway, Casey, the bride-to-be, gets a seemingly harmless bite from an unknown insect. After the trip, Casey discovers that everything can change with a single bite. That is, of course, the film from 2015, Bite, directed by Chad Archibald, written by Chad Archibald and Jamie LaForest. So this film is starring Elma Begovich as Casey, the main character in this flick, and it stars a few other people, but they're not really that interesting. This is mostly a story about Casey. She is a bride to be who goes on to a party from in a different country, has a mother-in-law that absolutely hates her, and she's just getting accosted from every angle except for one best friend, Kirsten, who's played by Denise Yuen, and what the bite does to her. So imagine a setup of a movie that wants to be like The Fly, but they don't have a scientist. They have a person who is scared about getting married, right? What would you do? You'd have them go to Costa Rica. You'd have them get bit by a bug that's underwater that they can't see, right? And what ends up taking place in this movie is kind of like this weird love drama about marriage and what it means, and a friend that is attempting to take your guy, and a guy who wants to wait for to be married to have sex, but then he can't because, well, he not that he can't, he doesn't, and then he blames it on her. And then you have a mother-in-law who's crazy, and they all live together in this. I guess this is like an apartment building that is landlorded by the mother-in-law. Anyway, really, my explanation here is more complicated than the movie. You have a person who's turning into a crazy cockroach lady, and this is a metaphor for finding out that she's going to become married and lose her identity, right? And they want kids. Kids are part of this. There are so many references to millions of children in this movie. It's pretty wild. And she doesn't really want kids, so we just are watching an identity crisis happen in front of us. And it's gross. So Bite is a movie that gets away with basically a very uninteresting plot, but very unlikable characters. And it says what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make something that's gross, disgusting. We're gonna show you a person transforming into a cockroach. We're gonna have some opportunities for confrontation to happen, and those confrontations are gonna end pretty poorly. What I will say is that the lead up to the transformation itself could be interesting. However, it was not that interesting. So we saw some nasty things happening to Casey, but we never saw anything interesting happening to Casey. There are 1 million Orbeez in this movie, and they're a stand in for bug eggs, right? So as we find out, she doesn't want to have kids. She ends up like bug eggs are coming out of every part of her body, and they end up just coating her apartment everywhere. And then she starts getting weird ticks and stuff. The bug eggs and the mucus in this film are probably the two things that are going to get you. So if you don't like lots of random goop of things, and you don't like the idea of bug eggs, or if you have the fear of holes, I think trypophobia, you're gonna despise this movie. And if you're not just into special effects in general, like if you don't like the making of special effects, or kind of watching like how these special effects are formed, this is a movie you're gonna want to skip, because frankly the story is bad, the acting's bad, most of the cinematography is bad. The movie is, even though it's not a particularly long movie, I think it comes in at under an hour and a half, feels long. There's too much just kind of dead space in there. And then, music and sounds. The sounds are gross, kind of annoying. Just gross though. I mean, so the soundscape does what it needs to do. But realistically, all you're looking for in this movie is special effects and sound. There's no other reason to watch this movie. You're not going to come out of this and be like, wow, that was really great. That really taught me something about having kids or losing my identity, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to look at it and say, hey, the special effects team did a really good job of grossing me out with a bunch of goo and a bunch of bug eggs. And then by the time we got to the end, she had a CGI tail that was kind of whack, but it was also interesting. And also, can I just say this? When you get to the third act and you finally have Cockroach Woman come out, and she's like vindictive and she's mean, and she is going to take back and show her that her identity was lost because these people stole it from her. That is such a more interesting movie. And if this was like the setup for a villain in a different movie, this would be a good setup. Don't make the movie an hour and a half long, mind you. Make it 20 minutes of us watching this, and then show us, hey, this is how Cockroach Woman came to be. And this is why she's evil, is because in her most, vulnerable state, her boyfriend or fiance cheated on her after saying that he had to wait until marriage. That's kind of a good movie wrapped up in there. There's a good idea there at the very least, but stretching this out to an hour and a half of just Orbeez and Elmer's glue coming out of your mouth at every second is not it. I love special effects. I love watching how people made stuff. It's interesting to me, and even this one, I will say, was just boring. It just was gross with nothing underneath it. It was like you have a layer of trash, and underneath that is a pit that leads to more trash. I'm not even going to go through my whole entire scores for this one. This one gets a 2 out of 10.